Hey you guys, it is William calling from Weeby Vlogs, and Tommy Cash is bringing that caffeine to Eurovision. He has won Eesti Laul 2025 in Estonia with the song Espresso Macchiato. Daban!
Hey you guys! Hey William!
Should we talk about it?
Let's do this!
You guys, Tommy is a massive star in Estonia, and he absolutely blew away the competition in the super final, which was decided by the public. To get to the super final, he of course had to pass a jury 50% and the public televote 50%, and he did that easily, winning the jury, and as we see from the super final, winning the public. So he was the all-around winner. We are hitting play. It's instantly sort of intoxicating, smacks of mystery.
Oh,
you see the silhouette,
okay.
Very dramatic. The smoke, very dramatic. I love Eurovision. You see the acting from the beginning.
This is so funny.
He's portraying a character. All that caffeine is making that body move.
He can move!
He's like made of slime. And I like the contrast with these very serious security guards. Boom, 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 boom. It's very vaudeville. Kind of like 1920s.
Are his dancers wearing shoulder pads?
You've never seen anything like this at Eurovision. It's very quirky.
This is very Rambo Amadeus.
Giving us a Jesus Christ moment.
Very used. A little bit pop culture referential, Andy Warhol.
It's very deliberately silly.
Could that tie get any longer?
How does his body do that?
Who manufactures that?
His take on Helena Paparizou's dancing line. OTT shoulder pads. This is one of those things you kind of like can't stop watching. You're like, what's happening next?
It's very tongue-in-cheek, isn't it?
Shaking that booty. Love when the security guard gives us that RuPaul moment.
I love the flexibility of everybody on stage.
I would like a bit more energy, although I appreciate that the point is he's meant to be reserved. Oh, I didn't even notice that previously. He was riding those folks.
Oh, the preteens love this so much.
And we're back to Jesus Christ Superstar. I wish the costumes were different color. They're disappearing.
Non-lexical vocal, la 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 la.
The melody is easy to remember. And he's done. And he is done. My first thought is that the costumes do need to change. They're just too dark. The security guards, you can't see them. And I think if maybe they wore blue with like the neon yellow or something, they might be a bit more pow. They might stick out a bit more. I do like how stoic they are. How they're sort of, at the end, I've pressed pause. Only one of them is smiling, the man with Tommy on his shoulders, and the rest are all very stone-faced. And this is part of the shtick. This is part of the whole, the world they've created. You know, these very serious guards who could only occasionally let things loose, like when that guy does the twist and the spin. There's a lot of acting going on here, right? It's deliberately contrasting with the go-hard power divas that we know at Eurovision. It's deliberately going against all the action, over-the-top, explosions, everything being crazy. It's sort of the anti-Karia in the one sense, but at the same time embracing Kaaria in the sense that it's different. It has a different point of view. And I think that was the power in this. As you may know, I was on the jury in Estonia, and the way I did it is I watched all 16 performances. We saw a different show to what viewers saw on the TV. We saw the afternoon rehearsal. I watched all 16 clips, and while we're going, I sort of put acts into tiers, like a top tier, middle tier, a third tier, and a bottom tier. And then at the end of the show, I put that to the side and then wrote down the acts I remembered the most. And then I sort of compared it to what I had. And so I'm like, yeah. The most memorable songs, the songs I like the most, they were sort of aligning, and then I ranked them accordingly. In any case, but this stood out, right? Like, the melody is very simple. The melody and dun 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 dun, and the dun 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 dun. Da-na-na-na. You remember it, right? And that's like a huge part of Eurovision is, will you be remembered in a sea of 20 million songs? And this was memorable. The visuals were also really interesting because, again, it's the anti-OTT, it's the anti-diva song, and that helped it stand out. And I think that viewers at Eurovision, not necessarily Eurovision fans, who, as we'll see in the comments coming up, do not seem to like this, at least on our site. Clearly, the Estonian Eurovision fans love it. But just going around social media, it's very divisive. This song is very divisive. But again, that's not necessarily a bad thing because you have to stir passions in the good way. It's okay if lots of people don't like your song. In any case, I think they can really work with this at Eurovision. You know, when he's doing his silly dance moves, maybe he can be replicated 10 million times on the screen. I would love to see more interaction with the settings. I think that you could do some really cool visual things if when he's moving, things are happening relevant to his body. Like say he has a side silhouette and then he duplicates. I don't know, you can work with these dance moves because the dance moves have the virality factor. People will clip them, people will share them. It has the whoa factor. People will be like, what the hell's going on? It has the WTF moment repeatedly. You can really play on all of that. I think the weakest parts for me were when you saw the audience. I don't want to see the audience. I don't want to see the arena. I want to focus on this strange world that Tommy Cash is creating. That's where the power in this will come, by taking the viewer out of St. Jacob's Halle in Basel, taking them out of the competition and putting them the cafe, on the street, wherever it is he drinks his Espresso Macchiato. And you could really play on that with all the LEDs. So I think this has great potential, and it was daring. Is this risky? Absolutely. This is a huge, huge risk. Where do they compete, actually? Let's see. Estonia competes in the first half of the first semifinal alongside Sweden, Ukraine, Slovenia, Iceland, Poland, and Portugal. Ain't none of these countries gonna be doing 1920 slapstick vaudeville comedy. Yeah.
Okay, congratulations, Tommy Cash. Eesti Laul this year was particularly competitive, actually. There were lots of really great entries, and I reacted to all of Eesti Laul, which, by the way, is one of my favorite pre-selections just because there's a breadth of talent in Estonia. And Estonia generally approaches Eurovision from an alternative angle. So giving us alternative sounds, very broad, very rich, very diverse, and very ambitious. And lots of entries simmer. What I do like about Eesti Laul as well is that they do showcase lots of entries that have a lifespan beyond 3 minutes. So quite often when I react, I'm listening to those songs over and over and over again, and many of them I really like. So many of them grow with repeat listens. This actually does the opposite for me. Tommy Cash is an artist that lives on my playlist with some of his other songs, but Espresso Macchiato, not so much. Interestingly, it's an Italian title, and he gets it. Just like me, I think Italy is massively overrated at the Eurovision Song Contest. It tends to do well at the expense of lots of other entries. And actually, bar 1 or 2 entries, it would have qualified anyway, just judging by the grand final result and outcome. So lots of entries do. But, you know, Estonia actually does love Italy, or at least there's a fondness for it in its musical culture. Verona, which was one of my favorite entries, Eurovision entries of all time, Koitume and Laura, is an Italian title. You know, Elena Nechaeva La Forza, that's also an Italian title. Tommy Cash is now coming with Espresso Macchiato, is that an Italian title? Is there something in the water? But this is an Italian title that, in its body of work, actually mocks Italy in a way. It borrows lots of references from pop culture. So there's the Andy Warhol moment. Even the wardrobe is referential to that. And yeah, it's very tongue-in-cheek. I don't know. I'm not a fan of joke entries, and I cannot put this in any other category but a joke entry. Yeah, I just don't find it funny. And I just think there are better ways to spend your 3 minutes than to, particularly for Tommy Cash. He is incredibly talented. Some say that this is very memorable, it's very catchy. Mi amore, espresso macchiato. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's memorable on some level. But yeah, these kind of entries don't really take residency in my brain. Like Zib, what are they called, from Moldova? Yeah, yeah. Memorable in a sense, people on bicycles and scooters on stage with cone hats and stuff like that. But one of them could sit next to me on a bus and I probably wouldn't recognize them. So, they're different shades of memorability. And whilst I'd recognize this tune or its backing track, it's not going to take up residency in my brain. It's not going to live rent-free. Because those songs don't really, for me anyway, penetrate deeper and really take root the way some other songs do, or can do, or have done.
It seems like the lyrics want to celebrate sort of, making the most of every day, sort of enjoying your espresso, getting on with the day. The pre-chorus goes, life may give you lemons when dancing with the demons. No stresso, no need to be depresso. Kind of like, look on the bright side. It's okay, have your coffee, move on, fuel your day, keep going. I take that as a very positive thing. Life is like spaghetti, it's hard until you make it. No stresso, it's gonna be espresso. Clever wordplay there. I want to read some comments from the Wee Wee Blogs website, and these are a mixture of the newest comments and the most voted for comments. Ben says, I'm sick and tired of all these joke songs that are so cringe and have nothing to offer. Where is the good old Eurovision? Okay, I'd actually argue that maybe the good old Eurovision was back when people didn't care about what juries thought, when people didn't care about conforming to the traditional radio hit, when people were more daring and risque, and this certainly ticks a lot of those boxes. It is daring and risque. At the same time, it does have a very familiar da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I could hear this being played on many radio stations. Jess O'Rourke says, this is hideous, and it's per favore, not por favor. Alessio Gori says, this was so bad. His song is easy to sing, but he can't sing that. How did this win the jury vote? As an Italian, I'm not interested about the joke of Italian culture, but this performance was nothing. I don't even know how to rank it. That's interesting. From an Italian point of view, I could see how you might find this really stereotypical and maybe off color. I suppose it depends on whether you think he's celebrating Italian culture. I don't know, but even then it could be like, are you appropriating Italian culture? This is tricky. I need to hear from the Italians in the comment section. On the one hand, espresso macchiato, that term has become so universal, so global. It's almost like we forget we're talking about Italy. People are like, I have an espresso macchiato. Starbucks has sort of corporatized the word, which could also, maybe he's making a comment on that. I don't know. We'll have to get the meaning from him. Very interesting to see what Italians have to say. Let's keep reading. Hector says, it's curious because I liked it more before in the studio than now watching it live. With this kind of song, it's usually the other way around. Weak voice and nothing interesting or entertaining on stage. The acting isn't enough. By law, this is usually supported by the televote, so I suppose Estonia is getting a top 15 placing at the very least. I hope that the Eurovision juries are not as condescending and want to act as modern as the Eesti Laul ones. Surely Käärijä supporting Tommy had something to do with getting the 83% of the votes. I kind of feel like Tommy's big enough even without Käärijä's support, to be honest. Bashada says, I don't get why most of the fandom likes this. It's utter cringe. To which Andrew replies, one person's cringe is another person's binge. Very good phrase. Michael says, okay, it's finally happening. Tommy Cash at ESC. Why then is this such an anticlimax? Perhaps he will perform the song in Basel in an interesting and fun way, unlike the bizarre, unfunny, non-entertaining, cringy mess that his Eesti Laul performance turned out to be. The joke may be on Tommy if he doesn't come up with big ideas for Basel. You know, I think we need to remember national selections are the first step in getting to Eurovision. You're working within certain parameters, and then at Eurovision, you have more tools at your disposal. Just to reiterate what I said earlier with staging, I would love the audience to disappear. I would love us to be in the Tommy Cash universe, not see any people, only have him interacting with the screen and his security guards. I think it could be very powerful because what's charming about this, and one reason I couldn't take my eyes off it, is I wanted to see the interplay between him and these men, because he was so camp and over the top, and they were sort of like, you know, they were like, yeah, stone-faced, stoic, and that was a nice contrast. And he also, I feel, is taking the piss. It's like he's in on the joke of like, this is not typical Eurovision, and that's what I'm gonna do. It's like the anti-Eurovision song in a way, and there is great charm to that, as the jury vote showed, and indeed as the public vote showed. And actually, when songs typically do well with both the jury and the televote, they tend to do okay at Eurovision. I know there are millions of exceptions. Go ahead, leave them all in the comments. For instance, Norway this year, I'm not convinced will do that well, even though it did well with both the jury and the televote. Anyway, moving on. Purple Mask says, yeah, I think with Tommy, fans are used to getting the real shock factor, but Espresso Macchiato is just playfully funny and a bit of cringe, hence anticlimax. However, ESC viewers who haven't heard of Tommy Cash before will love Espresso Macchiato, so it will get Tommy new fans, so it's a very clever move for him. Honestly, if you put this on between Slovenia, ballad, and Justina, kind of OTT over-the-top dance, this is gonna stand out, right? Coming off a very serious ballad, going into this very silly song, and then after him, you know, very serious, hard dance performance. This is the point. Tommy Cash is going to stand out. Soren says, cringe and disappointing, no vocals during the song. I kind of feel like this song doesn't require Whitney Houston vocals. I feel like the point of this song is to occupy this vocal range, this space, and he's doing that, right? Like, I don't know, vocals have to fit the song. It's not about absolute maximum vocals. It's about, do these vocals fit this genre, this song? And in that sense, yes, it does. Another proud Eurofan says, oh, come on. How are people liking this? It's truly mind-boggling. It doesn't even have the appeal of a joke entry like Finland last year. I cannot express how disgusted I feel. Strong emotions there. Crispy Heart, has your heart been burnt? Crispy Heart says, that is so bad. Effective Karia and Joost Klein. It's not funny at all, rather pathetic. Estonia for a second time in a row is serving cringe. Well, last year's cringe did make the final, and it was actually quite endearing to many people. Anyway, please Eurovision, bring juries back to the semifinals, and please Estonia, bring quality entries like Stefan or Ott Lepland back. Now, while I did like those entries, were they as original as this? I would probably say no. No one says, it's all funny when it's a stereotype of white people. Haha, espresso, mozzarella, mamma mia, or oui oui, I'm the French, or my name Igor, ya da, I'm drinking vodka, da. But now imagine the singer would sing sushi sashimi. He'd be disqualified. What would happen if he sang Indian curry? Neto was literally accused of appropriating Asian culture for her outfit and those stupid cat figurines. It's such a double standard, and the song isn't even good, to be honest. So no one is raising questions about, is it okay to make fun of Italians? Are these stereotypes deeply offensive? Please comment down below. Tommy Cash has clearly got the conversation started. People on social media, they're talking about this. People have opinions, they have strong opinions, and at the end of the day, it is strong feeling that carries the day at Eurovision. There was a lot of talk when Salvador Sobral was in the running, to win in Portugal. A lot of people were like, no way, and then our man did incredibly well. So it's just one of many examples of negative commentary on a song does not mean it won't do well. So this is shaping up to be very interesting, and I can't wait to see how Tommy progresses and pushes as we move forward.
This is also a divisive entry. Some people in the Eurovision fandom feel that, the song really mocks another participating country, da-da-dee, da-da-da, da-da-dee, da-da-da. Yeah, entries have successfully scaled the fence of accusing other countries of terrible war crimes and have gone ahead to do very well at the contest. So the fact that somebody is, singing about coffee beans, I just don't think that's terribly insulting. There are worse things to say. The fandom is an interesting one. Because sometimes, entries do tug in a way that generates the most surprising outcomes. Vocally also, Tommy Cash isn't quite cutting it, even though the song is incredibly easy to sing. But perhaps this is deliberate. I don't think that this song requires, the vocal prowess of Elena Nachayeva, for example, or Celine Dion, or Lindita Halimi, or Rona Nishliu. I just don't think that it needs to be slaying vocally. I think this is meant to be like a spoken word, mi amore. I think that's deliberate. And he does have artistic license to execute it in that way. Because the song itself is part of a broader package of imagery, staging, choreography, wardrobe. There are lots of ingredients here. And so, if he delivers it Il Volo style, you kind of derail from what the overall package is meant to do. So, I think he's sticking to his brief. It's a case of, do you like his brief? If you do, you get it. And if you're like me, WTF, you're like, okay, there were some other entries that got away.
All right, well, that's what we think. That's what our readers think. What do you think? Are you Team Tommy Cash? Do you think this will slay? What changes do you suggest for Eurovision? Let us know in the comments down below, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Follow Wee Wee Blogs on Pinterest, and we will see you later. Bye.